welcome back to Cone Racing League for Tier 2 at the Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos. We were last time out at Chinese Grand Prix in Asia, and now we move over to South America. This time I am joined by Stevan after he wasn't here last week. Thank you to Fandango for commentating Tier 1. Welcome Stevan for Tier 2, for Race 2.
Yes, Jamie, thanks for having me for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Very nice to be back in the commentary box after, of course, commentating the end of last season. So I'm glad to be back alongside you again.
Yeah, it's a pleasure as always to be commentating alongside you. And we're at a track this time where it can provide plenty of overtaking action as well. Always known for his good racing we've seen in the past as well, especially last season as well. We saw loads of overtakes, and now in the qualifying session for 18 minutes, and as you can see there, everyone, well, majority of the drivers are still in this pit lane for this 18-minute qualifying session. Nathan apparently is on the intermediate tyres, so he's wasted a bit of time out there. You want to be getting your exploratory lap time to test how how grippy the track is or not. And we're about to see then some flying laps from Leroy, but looks like he's not even activated his ERS yet, so it looks like he's going for a second out lap, it seems. So we'll go on board with Nelly Safu because he's actually the first driver to start a flying lap. So let's see how he makes it into turn 3 then with DRS a bit delayed open, but nevertheless still makes it. And going into turn number 4, braking just after the 100 meter board there. Into 5th gear we go, back to the throttle once again, and as we head up towards turn 6 and turn 7 there, Fedadora going into turn number 6 there with 6th gear, trying to carry the speed as much as you can without losing the car into the slow speed corners then, where it's very important to make sure you get it right with traction, because it's very easy to lose the car, especially when you in the lower gears as well in a slow speed corner. Bit wide going into there, but gets a good exit and going downhill flat out as we make our way now towards Junsao. Middle sector is a 51.8. We've got an AlphaTauri there. Looks like he's going for a little bit of a spin as Nathan's back in the pit lane, realising he's on the wrong tyres. I think the AlphaTauri is slowing down to let somebody through because it is Chivoon on his outlap. Safu there making his way towards the line. Let's see what this lap time is going to be. And everybody has to be at 8.5. Let's see if that time will get beaten.
Probably will be, because it's not an accurate time. We'll probably most likely see low 7 times. And talking about Leroy early on, he is just done a 12.6, but he didn't use his ERS. So he's indeed going for a second round, as it's quickly beaten by Carl, who's gone for pole by a 7.9. But I reckon we're going to see about 7.4, 7.5 lap times from the quicker guys in the lobby, because that will be the accurate time in the qualifying session.
Can we make it anywhere near the 6s? I know last game we were like in the 6.5, 6.6, and now obviously these slower cars were in the 7s, but can we get near the 6? I wonder, can anybody beat that time? But it's a Red Bull 1-2 currently, and now it's just been beaten by a Mercedes of Walter, who goes to the top of the timing sheets. Didn't have the best races, did Walter, at the Chinese Grand Prix. I think he got involved, and that's he got involved some early contact on lap 1. Didn't quite see what happened there. But let's hope for a better race for the 2-time champ in CRL, as Tony, the man who got a podium last time in China, replaces him, and he goes at the top of the time sheets with a 7.4, separated by over 2/10. So good luck time there for Tony. Looks like he's getting the season underway. Don't want to jinx him too much. It's only the second round of the season, of course, but be a massive confidence booster for Tony, as he desperately needs it in league racing, as he's had known to have some bad luck so far in the last few races or last few seasons ever since he's been racing. But let's hope for a change of fortune for the Argentinian in P1, and Bompio P6 there with his teammate just behind him.
Well, yeah, of course, there's only been 10 laps put on the table so far, and still half the new post lap. But that's a pretty good lap there from Tony, 2/10 ahead of his of the Alpine right now, of Aurelian, who's also on a 7.6. But I expect time to come down quite quickly. You expect people just to put on a bank lap here and then really start pushing later on in the session. So these times currently won't be an accurate time, and we'll see way quicker times at the end of the session.
And Nathan there finally switched over to the soft compound tyres after realising the intermediates were the wrong tyre, and he's currently on a lap at the 51.5 in the middle sector as he heads towards Junsao. Then turns the car in very nicely, gets a decent exit for the AlphaTauri, and let's see then, he was started in P19 It looked like he's headed towards the pit lane. I thought he was, but he's taking the shortest route. I should have known that. As a racer, as he goes to P9 with an 8.0, then desperately wants to improve that. And he's separated by 4 thousandths behind Montpierre in P9. Montpierre and Nathan did have good races, but Nathan did run out of fuel at the end of the Chinese Grand Prix, which dropped him 2 places behind Montpierre. So let's hope that doesn't happen again for him. And he desperately needs a good qualifying too after starting in P19 last time out at the Chinese Grand Prix. But the top of the timing sheet said is Tony in P1 ahead of Aurelien in P2. Javoon and Walter, those two didn't have the best of races back in China either, as Liam then pops his Alfa Romeo into P6, just been beaten by Isak Kush, who goes into P2 with the Aston Martin then. The man who won the Chinese Grand Prix last time after beating Victor. Let's see how strong he is here in Brazil as he goes into second place with a 7.5, a 10th behind Aurelien in P3. Aurelien started P3 I think at the Chinese Grand Prix, but I don't think he had the best of races. A look at rotation there, putting his McLaren into P3 with a 7.6 then, so a good pace there from the Swedish driver. And let's see how he copes this weekend, or this evening I should say, not even the weekend yet, as he puts himself on a second row then, among with the quick drivers there. But plenty of drivers in the pits then, just waiting for the major times to come out so far in this quiet session of qualifying. But once we get towards the latter stage of qualifying, should be very interesting, as 3 drivers are yet to set a lap time on the board, which is Leo, Choye and Sieb. All 3 are out there on the circuit. And let's see then, I think Sieb's then towards the second sector, but that's not a representative time in my books for Sieb. He has backed off on his lap. Have you seen something there, Steven?
Yes, we were just talking about Troy, as he's actually spun in the final sector. He literally did a Sebastian Vettel in 2016, where he just lost the car coming up the hill, and yeah, that means he can't set his lap time and he's going to the pit straight away. So bit of a disappointing first run. Same for C, who couldn't complete his first run. Leo is just completed his first sector with a 16.7, coming through the middle sector right now. In the Alpine here, looks very tidy. He got a P5 around China, I'm pretty sure, P5 or P6, which indeed started this season. And he's got a 51.1 middle sector here.
Oh!
He can't spin out, and he does spin out. That's the commentator's curse there for Leo here. Hopefully he won't get disqualified after staying too long still, but he doesn't. So that's the bottom 3 guys with poor first runs, to say the least.
And his Alpine teammate Aurelien is making his way towards the line. And let's see what lap time he's set. No, he's going for 1 actually. So he heads down into turn number 1, just passing his teammate who spun. Want to keep an eye on Aurelien. Let's see how he does then into turn 2. Nice through there, using all the curb, taking the shortest route. Going into turn 3, hugging the inside curb there. Heading down the Retroposher straight. Going down into turn number 4. Improves by 200ths of a second there. Into 5th gear we go. Experimenting with the throttle to see when he can is able to get on it. Going into turn number 6 and 7 there, swinging it in at the 50 meter board. Into 6th gear he goes, clips the apex into the first part of it, kisses it in the second part. Now going into the slow speed corners then, hooking the inside very nicely there, making sure he doesn't drift out too wide. Into 5th gear to reduce wheel spin. And let's see then, going into this right hander here, open up the inside, open up the entry to get a good exit there. And short shifted as well, a downhill flat out left hander, 210s. This could put him on pole position, but does it really connect with Jun Sao? I think he would have missed the apex slightly there, did Aurelien. So still time to be found for the Alpine driver. Let's see how it affects him going into this last part of the track, going into to cross the finish line now. Oh, it's a 7.4, so he does go pole, but there's still more time to be found for Aurelien there.
Totally agree there. You saw on board with him there. He just missed the apex coming on towards straight, which cost him about a 10th, I reckon, because the exit is so important here. Because it's just such a long straight, of course. Well, not a long straight, but the exit is so important, so you can just go on the high speed quicker and gain time. As Tony's done a really good lap there with a 7.2 now, 2/10 of Aurelien. Aurelien can for sure gain time still, but that's a very good buffer, as Jeroen is now gone to P2 with a 7.4, but it's a very good run there from Tony with a 7.2 and gaining his 2/10 advantage, as Bompi is actually going to P4 now for the Haas team with a 7.5. So as we were predicting, times are starting to come down slowly but surely.
Yeah, we're starting to see more flying representative lap times as Walter, 2/10 up in the middle sector, but unfortunately for him, he has invalidated. That 2/10 could put him into P2 or P3, depending how much time he found in the last sector. And I think he's going to dive into the pit lane now to put on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres. He'll be devastated with that one, knowing that would be a good lap time to potentially put him at the top of the timing sheets, but unfortunately all unfolded there into the last part of the track. As AJ then in 10th place, his teammate in P1, can AJ get anywhere near his teammate as he's making his way towards the middle sector now? It's a 52. Oh, never mind, he's not on a lap time or representative lap time, so he must have made a mistake somewhere on the course of that lap. Leroy in the Alfa Romeo has also invalidated too, as we saw there from Walter as well. Jack is on a lap time in the Haas. His teammate Bob Pierre is in P5. Both Haas's had a strong finishing going into the Chinese Grand Prix. Can they repeat the same thing here at the Brazilian Grand Prix? Jack, I think, was slightly down in the first sector there, but I think he just finished his lap. That's why he is not on the flying lap right now. But Sieb, ILT Sieb, has gone into P2 with a 7.4, beating Javoon by 300s there. So that's a fantastic lap time from Sieb in P2 there. The one-time race winner at the British GP a few seasons ago has put his Aston Martin there in P2. And it's only, well, he's 2/10 still away from Tony. So that lap time from Tony was absolutely amazing. Repeating what Hulkenberg did back in 2010 with the Williams.
Indeed, totally. You were talking about AJ earlier, about not being an accurate time. I was quickly on board with him, and you saw him go to the quick left-hander towards sector 3, and when he went on the throttle, he just lost the car slightly, which was losing quite a bit of time. I think like 3 or 4 tenths here, so AJ seems to be struggling a bit in terms of setup-wise, because normally he would be higher up. And around China, he was around the top 6, I'm pretty sure. And now he's down in 14, so hopefully he can sort it out and make some few adjustments, which with options he could still have, and go higher up in the standings.
Yeah, Leo, also another driver in P17, also struggling with the track conditions there. He looks like he's turning a bit too early into some corners. I noticed that his last flying lap at Junsao, he turned in a bit early, then that compromised his exit. That's why he caused him to spin as well. So Leo there on the back foot in P17. He's usually up there in the top 6, but unfortunately for him, he's struggling down there in P17. Can he hook up a lap together with 4 minutes left to go in the qualify session? Everybody in the pits except Tony. We've got 2 more drivers coming out the pit lane, which is a Ferrari and a Red Bull then. So Tony there in P1. I don't want to jinx it too early, but his pace looks phenomenal going into this early few races of the season there. I don't know, could he be a championship contender this season? We wouldn't be saying that last season, especially with the amount of mistakes he made, but he's rectifying them now, and he's going to go on his final flying lap there, maybe his final flying lap, depending if he validates on his on this lap. As he heads into turn number 1 then, breaking the 50-meter board, going into turn number 1 there, stays in 4th gear, clips the inside, just hugs the inside curb, even puts his car on the curb there. Sometimes when people do that, they lose the rear end of the car, but he takes the right amount of curb to stop that happening. Going into turn number 4 now, look at that, he is 400 up, but he did put his tyre on the grass there. Might affect him a little bit, you know how it's like with debris on the tyres, but it doesn't affect him at all. Going into this double right-hander there in 6th gear, carrying the speed up into 7th now, downshifting into 4th gear there, which majority of the drivers do, with the best traction there is in 4th gear with these new cars, usually being 3rd gear in the olden games, but now it's 4th. Going into this right-hander here, let's see how he hooks it up very nicely there. The car rotating really well, gets on the throttle as well with no signs of wheel spin in this left-hander going downhill. He is 1/10 up. And going into Junsao now, hooks it up really nicely, no signs of wheel spin, gets on the throttle perfectly cut out of Junsao. And let's see then how much time he's made with that. 1/10 up in the middle sector. Can he find more time? Can he get into 6s, I wonder? Tony's about to cross the line, and he goes with a 7.1. Wow, 4/10 is the difference at least. Under 4/10 from C4 Gamer there. Tony is absolutely flying around here. Could anybody dethrone him?
Brilliant statement to make right there from Tony. He's been on it from the beginning of the season. I know the season's only been 2 rounds, but Tony is certainly making a statement right here with a 3/10 gap to a seed right there. I expect other people to improve, but that's going to be a tough battle to go up against, because he can really show he's confident around the track, and he's looking good right now, Tony, but we should not celebrate too early, and Tony should not celebrate too early, because the race will be a lot different, and he used teams to push quite a lot, because never count out Jeroen, Boompje, Wouter, all those guys will start to catch up and put the pressure on Tony here, so the race will be different.
Qualifying is done and dusted there, unfortunately for Joshua. He spun coming out of Judd's side. There's a Red Bull stationary there a few moments ago as Isa Kush displaces his teammate, goes into P2. Aston Martin looking really good as well around here at Interlagos then, as the times will start coming in now. Wouter is on his final flying lap. Where is everybody else then? Boompje in the first sector. I want to see who's closest to the line. There's a McLaren coming. I think that's rotation down there in P9. Yes, it is. His teammate, however, is in P18 on a flying lap. Rotation about to make his way towards the line. And I think he's about to start one actually. As Tony's retired then, is he safe, Tony? Can anybody take his pole position away, I wonder? There's a Alpine coming towards the line, but I think he's about to start his final flying lap. And Alfa Romeo's just crossed the line, coming Aston Martin now. Is that Sieb? I think it was Sieb. We just saw Isa Kush a few moments ago. I think they're all starting their final flying laps now with 45 seconds left to go in this session then. It's going to be very interesting as majority of the drivers are out there on the flying lap except Tony and Joshua. Joshua unfortunately retired. We've got a Ferrari. I think he's just spun. Is that Troye? No, it's another one. I think it's Resify P16 who spun. I think it was, yeah, he was 10th up in the first sector, so that's his lap time ruined. Unfortunately, I'm going to stay on board with rotation here because that's the driver I was looking at earlier on. There's a Haas coming towards the line now. That is Jack. He just sneaked into the top 10. The Aston Martin is in the pit lane of Isaac Kush then. He's completed the lap earlier on. Troye in P3. Alpha Tauri about to cross the line now. Stays where he is, unfortunately for him, whoever that was. Rotation purple in the lap middle sector there. 7 seconds left to go in this session. Some drivers are returning to the pits, indicating they made a mistake on that final flying lap. As rotation then, it's about to make his way towards the line with a lovely slipstream, and he goes into P10 only for rotation there. Looking very strong. AJ in P14. In the Williams, with his teammates in P1, we've got Aston Martin. Is that Sieb in P4? It must be because his teammates retired. Here comes Sieb, and he does not improve, unfortunately for him then. And we've got another McLaren across the line. I think that's Nelly Safu in P17 there. He's going to make his way towards the line. Unfortunately not for him because he's head back in the pit lane, and that's qualifying done and dusted for him. But what about Leroy in P13 there? I don't think he's going to improve. No, he's not. We've got a Red Bull now coming towards the line. Where is Jeroen Visser? Invalidated his lap time, unfortunately for him. And now P's making his way towards the line. That is Leo in P13. Unfortunately for him, did not improve. Well, he did, but only a few positions up where he didn't want to be. And that is qualifying done and dusted then. So Tony takes pole position away from Isa Kush then. Isa Kush starts in P2. I think he started there at the Chinese Grand Prix where Victor Triero took pole position. Unfortunately has not attended tonight. That's why rotations in the session. Choye is the biggest outstander for me in P3. What a performance from him in the Ferrari.
Indeed, what a qualifying you said, and Tony managed to keep his pole position, and he didn't lose it throughout the session because he put in the pole first of all early on the session, and no one just got near him. The closest person who got near him was Isaac Kush, and he was still at 10.5 away around a small circuit like Brazil. That's very impressive stuff by Tony.
Indeed, in the Williams there, replicated what Nico Hulkenberg did back in 2010, take a pole for the Williams team back then. And Isaac Kush second in the Aston Martin with Troye outstander for me in P3. What can he do? Can he claim a podium, the Swedish driver in P3 there? Sieb, good performance from him in P4. Let's see how this race turns out. Wouter, two-time champion in P5 ahead of Javuvas in P6. Orvelan there, P7 ahead of Liam. Boompje P9, rotation P10. Carl Berg in P11 with Jack in P12, Leo P13, Leroy P14 for him. AJ and Nathan both had disappointing qualifiers once again, but can they claw their way back in the race? Resify in P17 ahead of Nelly Safu, Joshua who spun in his final flying lap in P19, and Ken who we never really saw got going, unfortunately for him, but he is in P20. I think he had a decent race last time in China if I remember on those old hard compound tyres. But what could he do there from P20? You know, Carlos Sainz started, I think, P20 in 2019. He came back to finish on the podium after the race, well, post-race, because Lewis Hamilton got a 5-second time penalty for collision with Alexander Albon back in 2019 when they both came together, unfortunately for those two. And Alex Albon for his first podium in his Red Bull season. But history around here. Championship is going to be won and lost around here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Mostly for us, it's only the second round of the season.
Indeed, indeed. There's still plenty of opportunities here, and the race will be very different to, of course, qualifying. Qualifying is just trying, of course, your very best to get as high up. But in the race, there won't be many overtaking opportunities. I find Brazil to be a very difficult overtaking circuit, so it's gonna be tough where people are gonna try to overtake on track. So expect many undercuts. People just trying to pit earlier to get ahead of other drivers, because I think the undercut will be very effective.
We shall see. I suspect many people around here will be starting on the hard compound tyres converted to the mediums. As you can see on the screen already, a few drivers in my eyesight has gone on the hard compound tyres. In fact, everybody is on the hard compound tyres then, so nobody, even the guys at the back, have decided to go on the medium compound tyres. We know the new tyre rule here in 2022, you can start what tyres you want to, and that's why everybody's gone for the hards. But talking about this though, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the old tyre strategy or the new one?
I definitely prefer the older one, because it just allows you to have more different tyre strategies. I know you can pick whatever tyre you want to go on now, but seeing people qualify on the mediums in qualifying makes it very interesting as well. Because I did a race in the League of Europe once where I qualified on the medium tires around Portimao, and which set me up great for the race, and I actually won that race. So I know that doesn't happen very often to me or at all, but that was still a very good strategic performance here. But actually I don't really mind both. I think both could work out great, but I don't really have a preference, to be honest. I like both.
I don't know, we've had the old tyre format for a long time, and obviously if you start in the top 10 you have to start on those tyres you set your fastest lap on, so you're still quite familiar with that. Tony goes for a little spin there, and so does the Mercedes behind, which is Walter P5. But let's see if Reservoir and Nathan's got disqualified. Let's see if lap 1 is cleaner than before, because I think somebody got spun out at turn number 1 last time. It was I can't remember who it was actually. I think it was Leroy who got spun out at turn number 1 in China, and somebody got full wind damage. Let's hope it's much more cleaner here in Sao Paulo. Lovely city, lovely country as well. As all drivers then about to make their way towards the line, you can see a lot of donuts there and pirouettes going around, trying to get the extra temperature in the tyres. Tony doesn't want to wait on the line much longer than he has to. But let's see who gets a better start. Will Tony lead into turn number 1, or will Isa Kush get a better start? Sebastian Vettel was able to take on Valtteri Bottas back in 2017 when he started second place. I know second is a good place to start if you get the jumper your rival ahead. But the lights are about to go out then, and let's see what happens. Lights out, away we go then for round 2 at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Looks like Tony gets a decent start there, and you can see the Ferrari Choye, I think he's side by side now with Isa Kush going into turn number 1 there. You can see 3 wide going into turn number 1, into turn 2. Choye is under pressure from Wild to Giroud. They both going side by side. We'll get good slipstream going off Choye there. As you can see that the AlphaTauri tucked in behind the Ferrari there, and you can see Walter just alongside him going into turn number 4, but they remain as they are then. Looks like they're all clean going into the first few corners. In fact, there's a few position changes going on already further down the midfield. I think somebody's off the track. That was Rotation, who started P10. He's down into P12, unfortunately for him, as they all jockey for position to try to slot in. Further down the field, they're going side by side then with the Ferrari, with the Red Bull and the Williams there. A bit of front wing damage. Oh, 2 drivers have spun, and they both got off the track there. That is Leroy once again getting involved in some first lap mayhem. But Choye has been overtaken by Giroud, where Alex Albon got spun out, but Choye is coming back down the inside there, and he was able to hold it to P3, but Giroud goes down the inside into John Sao, and he pushes Choye onto the curb there, which will not give him good traction cut out there, otherwise it will spin. Here comes the Alpine of Orveden then, as Walter is right behind Giroud Visser with lovely slipstream as we make our way up into turn number 1, as Giroud firmly closed the door. Look at the Alpine and look at the Ferrari, they're going 4 wide into turn number 1. Who makes it out ahead? This is so crazy, as Choye is back into P3. Giroud and Walter are off the track together as more contacts further down the field. There's a lot of damage, and that is Choye who's lost his front wing, and he's left the session in rage.
Now, you need very aggressive driving there after lap 1. Troye was on the inside there, and lost the car on the curb it seems, and clipped the car of Liam, who's now in P4, and got some damage, and by Dutra now rage quit the session, which is quite unfortunate now, but that does promote other drivers here. Very ambitious move there from Jeroen in the final corner here. I don't know why he exactly took that, and he squeezed out Troy quite a bit as well, so drive though getting the elbows out, that's for sure.
If you just joined us, there's a lot of chaotic moments onto lap 1, headed into lap 2 there. Down into turn 1, there was 4 abreast going into turn 1 there. Unfortunately, Troye came out worst of it. There was a bit of front wing damage. I think Troye suffered that, but he's left the session now, so we won't be seeing him for the remainder of the race there, as Jeroen was desperate to overtake him. He did it into Judd Sowers. Jeroen has drained a lot of his ERS battery as he wants to make an overtake on Liam, and DRS now is enabled, so will Liam get him back with the healthy ERS advantage he has? But Jeroen gets a much better exit. He's under pressure now from Orvelan behind. As you can see there, much better drive from the Alpine driver. They're going side by side, both having DRS thanks to Jeroen Visser ahead. Orvelan then, late on the brakes, is able to go up into P5 there, ahead of Liam into P6, and Orvelan has a really good chance of overtaking Jeroen, knowing he's low on battery. Jeroen is exposed here because he has no DRS on Walter, so he can't really save up his DRS, unfortunately for him, so it'll be a big DRS training for the guys behind. As we can see there, Jack, Troye, Rotation and Nathan there have visited the pit lane, and unfortunately for them, they'll be dropping all the way down the field, and a safety car will be the only hope to get back in the race. However, out in front with a good lead of 8 tenths ahead of Isak Kush there. Not really comfortable for Tony, but can he get himself out of the DRS range of Isak Kush? Like this reverse situation for Isak Kush yet again, as he was able to follow the car behind him in China. This time he's following Tony instead of Victor, who didn't turn up for tonight's race, as Leroy there has overtaken Carl for P10. That's a place you don't really expect there. In fact, he did it before John Salbert. He's coming back at him, but there's plenty of battles going on in the midfield there as we head into turn 1. And Joshua there. Joshua's had a really good start, by the way, because he did start P19. I think Leroy's gone for a spin, as I just saw in the background there, but I think he's kept it, or that's a different Alfa Romeo. Or did he save it? I'm not quite sure, but somebody definitely went sideways going into turn 1 there, into turn 2. And Leroy there under massive pressure from Carl once again, trying to go around the outside but off the track, and Ken's able to follow through, moves himself up into P11 there. Carl has lost positions not only to Ken, but Reservoir as well, who moves himself up into P12 there. Unfortunately, he tried to stick it around the outside, but it didn't quite work. Went off the track and lost 2 more positions in the process. He's dropped down into P13. Has the Dutchman, but Jeroen Visser has able to catch Walter for some reason. I think Walter's made a mistake somewhere on the track, because he was 1.4 seconds behind. Now he's 3 tenths behind, so something's major happened to Walter there, and he's got a load of cars behind him then, ready to pounce on him.
Indeed, indeed, and all they're doing is losing a lot of time to the top 2 guys, which are Tony and Isak, who had a clean start and managed to stay away from the chaos, and now 4-second clip from the lead now. And interestingly, they have about 50% ERS compared to Bouter's 33% and Jeroen's 8% after only 5 laps. So they're in a very good shape when it comes to stay in the top 2 battle. Carl had a good start early on. He was following Joshua in the DRS window, but seems to be falling backwards now, because he was only 9 tenths behind him, and looks like he's about 4 seconds behind him in just 2 laps time. So Carl needs to get in a window again to hopefully move on to the top laps. Also, we have a spinner, I think, in sector 2. That's Leo, who was spun out after a good start in China. Seems to be struggling a lot here around Brazil. Now down in E16, which is far from ideal for him. Steve other wants to lose that massively from the start. He started in P4, dropped down quickly to P7 before getting spun out in turn 4, but is now trying to make his way up again now in P15.
A lot of things happened there to process it to turn up into lap 1. I think Leo has gone for a spin yet again, unfortunately for him, in the same place he did his qualifier. But look at that, Jeroen Visser now trying to go around the outside of Walter, and they go in 3 abreast now. Orvelan is also side by side as they go into turn number 4. So Orvelan gets past 2 in the space of a few corners there, and Giroud's off the track once again as Walter's shoving it wide again. These two are having it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Walter versus Giroud, and O'Reilly is able to take advantage of that. Walter somehow made a mistake into turn number 3, went very wide, and Giroud tried to go around the outside, but went wide himself, and O'Reilly there took the inside line, was able to get past both of them using the ERS he has and the DRS as well, and Walter's drained a lot of his battery too. So those two there, looks like they're struggling here tonight at the Brazilian Grand Prix, but we've got a spin once again. That's from Leo. Unfortunately, he must be running no line surely, because I've seen him turn into a few corners very early than he should be. But yeah, he's definitely struggling, unfortunately for him. Maybe lack of practice, maybe he doesn't like the track in general. But Giroud there is coming under pressure now from Leroy right behind. Liam, sorry.
With Resfy and Leroy in the final sector, so Leroy has been incident once again. There's some end plate on the exit. Looks like a Ferrari end plate indeed.
Oh!
Also pitting now. I'm not sure what happened there. The Resfy got some damage. Leroy, but they both Canada into pits for Mercedes. I'm not sure what happened there.
It's the outside line converted to the inside line. Unfortunately, Liam there, he hasn't lost any full wing, thankfully. Maybe a little bit of damage, who knows? But he tried to do what Hamilton did on Verstappen, or Verstappen did on Hamilton. But this time they both escaped free. Tried to go around the outside, have the inside line, but unfortunately they both met in the middle. And Liam there suffered with almost with full wind damage, but was able to escape from it, and still in the battle for P5 with Giroud maintaining with the DRS. And the top two got the tracks themselves with Tony and Isak Kush. Talk about those two. I think Tony was just for a split second there was able to drop Isak Kush out of his DRS, but he's still there for the time being. Tony desperately trying to get Isak Kush out of the DRS there, but they're both doing a good job to pull away from P3 downwards. Is O'Reilly this time able to try and close the gap between the leaders? He didn't really do so at the Chinese Grand Prix. He was a low majority of the race, but can he do so here? It's going to be quite difficult with the guys behind him also have DRS and be coming under pressure from then, focusing behind rather than in front, and unfortunately there, the Alpine and Leo is out of the race.
Indeed, just a horrible race from Leo, unfortunately. Just seems to be struggling quite a lot in the race and lost the car just many times. But he's not the only one making mistakes. There's plenty of guys making mistakes and errors. So if you can keep it clean and just stay on track all the time, C plus down in P16. There's 2 laps going now, it's up to P11. So he's definitely still in the race and trying to make up some positions here. So you want to keep it clean, because then you can gain the most amount of time. Because Evan started in P19 is now all the way up in P8.
Talking about Evans, he almost lost it there in the middle sets. Had a handful of wheel spin going out the slow corners, but was able to keep it on the track. And looks like Liam then is outside the 1 second range of that crucial DRS. And I think a Ferrari spun, that is Troye. Is he back in the session? His car's parked, so he must. Oh, he's back in the session, and so hopefully that was lag, or maybe a little bit of rage quit, but decided he'd rather stay in than get out. But nice to see him back, but he's spinning again. So yeah, that's his race, unfortunately, in the drain. Or reading there under massive pressure from Walter and Giroud. They're both trying to harvest the ERS now after draining it in the beginning of the race. Both trying to save the battery using the benefit of the slipstream right behind O'Reilly in P3 there. As Ken sets the fastest lap of the race on those medium compound tyres. You get 2 sets of mediums, I think, because they chose the balanced strategy. I think majority of the drivers are going to choose the balanced strategy, so you get 2 sets of mediums then in this race. That they did in China last time out when they went hard, medium, medium. I think some of them did. There was no safety car in that race at the Chinese Grand Prix. But you can see then Walter on the back of O'Reilly in P3 there, 5 seconds away. The gap keeps extending between the top two there. Is able to cruise away from P3 downwards and have their own race to plan out later on in this session. But Isak Kush is also on the back of the Williams of Tony there, putting under massive pressure, looking for a second consecutive victory of the season. Walter's not close enough on O'Reilly.
There you go, they're just pulling away from each other, using each other in the DRS window, using a little bit of ERS right there, but I think Tony and Isak Kush are very comfortable right now with Aurelian, Wouter and Jeroen all just burning their ERS and just trying to overtake each other, which is not a strategic amount of plan, because top two are just getting away in a way and are quite comfortable there. But good start from Liam as well in Alfa Romeo. He's now in P6, quickly followed by Bompje, who's also doing a very solid job at the moment, staying in the DRS win over Liam. But Liam was also losing a little bit touch to the guys ahead, but still doing a solid job there, and hopefully AJ goes up gap. He's in between the McLaren and the Williams, oh no, the Red Bull, I'm sorry. And hopefully he can catch up a bit. Seems to be struggling a bit, but at least he's in the top 10. As we have Leroy making another spin. A difficult season so far for Leroy, but hopefully he can just keep going and make up some positions later on, because there could always be a safety car.
Indeed, high chance for a safety car in this race. Very easy to lose on traction, proven by other people as well, especially qualifying when some people lost out of Judd Sauer. We've already had one DNF, which was Leo, and that was in the pit lane, I think, so no safety car would affect this race so far. But it's a nice race for the top two. Tony and Isa Kush have the track to themselves and fight it out later, use each other as DRS to pull away, and it's all, yeah, just waiting for the second stint to come on the medium compound tyres. That's when they'll fight. In the first part of the race, they just strategically pull away from each other. In the second part, that's when they'll start fighting, so they don't lose too much time on those hard compound tyres. But that's what we're seeing at the stage of the race. But once it comes towards the medium compound tyres, that's when things should be getting interesting. The battle for P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, and Bompje putting pressure on Liam in P6. Looks like Joshua's lost touch towards Bompje as well. He was in the DRS range of the Haas man, but unfortunately there has dropped out of it. And I wonder what happened to Seb as well, because he started P4 and now he's dropped into P11. Hasn't been a pit stop, so no form of damage for him unless he's got some by not pitting. But looks like he got involved in some first lap carnage as well, and he's down in P11 unfortunately for him. So interesting to see what his perspective is. But rotations left the session then, so maybe yeah, unfortunately just left.
Yeah, with Seep, he unfortunately had a bad start going down to P7 before entering turn 3, turn 2, and he was in the midst of the battling, and then he got spun in turn 4 unfortunately, which sent him down to the back. But he's making his way up again now, catching up to the McLaren ahead, and the McLaren is somewhat matching pace to AJ, so Seep is working his way up into the top 10 again after a difficult lap 1.
It's a shame. It's a shame to see, because I know Seba's got the pace, but when it comes to the start of the race, if you notice the pattern last season where he just kept dropping down the order in every single race style, that's what cost him a lot. I don't think he's confident enough or aggressive enough. Maybe too cautious, as you can see Walter all over the back of the Alpine there, not falling for the move. And yeah, Seb just needs to be more confident at the start. Just try and go for it, or maybe not be too cautious, because that's what's caused him to drop down the field. As we've proven last season, every time he started higher up, he always fell down at the start of the race. But that needs to change for him. He's coming down in P11 behind Nelly Safu. Nelly Safu has had a good start as well. Let's see where he started in the field. He started 18th, of course, and he's up into P10, so good race so far from the McLaren driver inside the top 10. But Giroud is going to go down the inside in a place you don't expect, overtaken, and they're going side by side in the slow corners now. Totally unexpected there, as Giroud trying to keep it around the outside, and that's going to hurt Walter because he's dropped out the DRS range now of Allreden. Allreden can use this advantage to pull away and break out the DRS range of Walter, and now Walter will be frustrated with that one, because it's going to be hard to catch up again with the lack of ERS he has. Now he has to fight Giroud Visser, but Liam's gone for a spin, and he has. There he is then, downhill, and unfortunately has lost traction, and he's down into P11 now, with the first penalty going towards Carl, as Giroud then has overtaken Walter once again. And that is I thought I saw a spin there going into turn number 1, but my eyes there deceived me. But it's a good battle between Giroud and Walter. However, Isa Kush is getting closer towards Tony then, so the battle for P1 is intensified. Pit stops will be happening very soon, around lap 19, lap 20, we'll see. But let's see how Tony then handled under the pressure of Isa Kush. Isa Kush go for a second victory in a row this season. Tony looking for his first victory in CRL. He's had 2 podiums in the past, his previous one last race, but can he try and get a victory here tonight?
Indeed. To be fair, there's not been many penalties. Oh, you just pointed out that Carl got the first penalty of the race here, but despite the aggressive driving, there's been no penalties so far. Unfortunately, I jinxed Liam there by shouting him out for that he had a good start in Alfa Romeo and now spun up.
Oh!
Aurelius retired on the exit of Junsau, I think it is, and that brings out a safety car there. So this will spice things up with Jeroen and Wouter straight away going into the pits. Same for Bonepierre and Joshua, all going into the pits like this. So this will spice up the race, definitely.
Oh, that's a shame there for Aurelian. Looking in good form, he was able to break the DRS gap between himself and Wouter Jeroen, but unfortunately there has retired from the race. Aurelian, oh, that's a shame for him. Don't know what happened there. That he dropped it so far up the hill. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he just lost traction all the way up the hill and eventually hit the wall. Paul Di Resta crashed there back in 2012, which caused a late safety car, and Jenson Butler was able to win that Grand Prix. But Aurelian then has suffered there into the exit of Junsau. Not quite sure what happened there between them. Did he just stay on the curb? Did he ride the curb too much and just lose the rear end and hit the barriers? I'm not quite sure. But unfortunately for him, his race is over. And I think that's both Alpines then have retired from the session. So Alpines there will not be getting any points after a good race at the Chinese Grand Prix. Oh, that's a shame there. Unfortunate for those two.
Indeed. Just the way it is. 1 week you can have a perfect result or 1-2 finish or both in the top.
Steven.
The other week you can have gone.
Can you turn your mic up, please? I think someone in the comments wants you to turn your mic up. You're a bit quiet.
Oh, I'll turn it up then quickly. I have to be somewhat quiet as well because my dad's sleeping literally next room, so I can't be too loud for you guys, unfortunately. So I'll turn it up, but do bear in mind that should be good now, hopefully. Just let me know in the comments, guys, if it's any good now. I can't, like I said, I can't be too loud because people are now starting to sleep, so I can't be screaming about for you guys, unfortunately, even though I would love to, and as a commentator.
As you expect then, people on the hard compound tyres have switched over to the mediums. This gives a chance for those people who will running low on EOS to regain their battery and save some fuel as well, because I think some people underfuel the car. Like in China, there was no safety car in China, and a lot of people, or some people, ran out of fuel on the last lap of the race, which caused them to fall down the order. Likes of AJ and Nathan as well. AJ up into P7, his brother however down into P15. This gives a chance for those who had their pit stops at the first laps to have a second chance at this race and regain something from this race as well. We'll see what happens then. Safety cars came out and we'll spice things up. And Bompierre's moved up into P5, so he's getting some positions off that. Joshua P6 then. So both Alpines have gone, and we'll see what happens to the remaining 18 in this race. Carl, the only man who's got a penalty in this race. Nelly Safu, starting P18, has moved himself up into P8. Joshua from P19 up to P6. And AJ there in P7 as well, so looks like he's gained a few positions for himself. And I can't wait to see the battle.
Indeed. Go on, Jamie, go on, Jamie.
I can't wait to see the battle between the top four, because this gives the chance for Jeroen and Wouter to close that gap down with the safety car bunch to pack up once again. Is Jeroen and Wouter able to stick within the DRS of Isaac Kush and Tony, giving themselves a chance of winning the race? Tony has led every single lap here at the Brazilian Grand Prix, all 17 of them so far, and 2 of them behind the safety car. Kept Isaac Kush for behind for so long in this race, but on the medium compound tyres, Isaac Kush and Tony will be turning up to the max when they come on, when the safety car goes in. I'll see what happens towards the end of this race. I can't wait for those two to start fighting. They've just been pulling away from each other, well, from the rest of the pack on the hard compound tyres. That's what you do, just managing the tyres, just pulling away at the early stage. But once we go on to the second stint, that's when things start to get spicy, and it will do towards the last few laps of this race then. And do you know how Jeroen and Wouter, or Jeroen was very aggressive at the start of the race? And let's see if it happens again going down to turn number 1. I think Tony and Isaac Kush could be on their toes at the safety car restart, not to get caught napping, otherwise they get pounced off very quickly.
Indeed, indeed. Like yo, just check. Well, safeguarding should come in. No, it will stay for one more lap. It looks like. But are we gonna see a aggressive Jeroen on the really safety car restart? Because of course, after you saw the start and basically in the entirety of the race, Jeroen is really going to help us out with Wouter here. So are we gonna see these guys put on the fight to I S8 or trying to stick within the 1 second window? Because that's what they called them out last time out, by not staying in the DRS window. So are they gonna be strategic, or are they gonna be aggressive, try to gain some more positions? As Troy is going into the pits, he was in the hard tires, but presumably going to switch to the medium tires here. As rotation is now back in the session here in the McLaren. He is on the hard tires, but he's glad to see him back in the session here, as he doesn't have a penalty, so he's definitely still in condition for some points here. I think it's points per position here, so it doesn't really matter if you should just keep going regardless. That's my point I'm trying to make.
We're at halfway distance at the Brazilian Grand Prix here, with Tony leading I S8, Jeroen Visser in P3. The battle between those two, Wouter and Jeroen, has been incredible so far. Bonpierre sneaked his way up into P5, with Joshua having a good performance in P6 from starting P19 after making a mistake on his final flying lap in qualifying, spinning out of Junsao. Has rectified that. And let's see if we can gain any more positions. AJ as well didn't have the best of qualifying, up into P7 with Nelly Safu starting P19, was able to keep Sieb at bay for quite a while, and Liam dropping down. But the safety car is going in then on this lap. Looks like the Ferrari Troye caught up, and rotation staying on those hard compound tyres will be a sitting duck from now to the end of the race. Unfortunately, being on those tyres for the majority of the race, pitting when he on lap 2. But for Tony then, the effective safety car leader will be leading them. And let's see then when he decides to pull away. Not too early, because the guys behind will get a slipstream. He wants to pull away when he can, like Max Verstappen did in 2019. And let's see where we're about to go then. Towards halfway line. Towards halfway, Joshua and Bonpierre switching positions, but off we go then for the safety car restart. Is Jeroen poised to make a lunge into turn number 1 we go. They're going side by side. Wouter and Jeroen going side by side once again, then heading into turn number 2. Wouter trying to stick it on the outside. They both make contact once again then. And we're going to go on board with Joshua. Joshua's got ahead of Bonpierre, and now on the Retroposta straight, Jeroen Visser looks like he's got more straight line speed than Wouter, and he moves himself up into P3, or stays in P3 like he was before the safety car restart. Sieb has got past Nelly Safu for P9, and he puts him down into P10 as the Ferrari off into gravel once again. I'm not quite sure who that is. Is that Reservoir? Rotation is pitted onto medium compound tyres. I don't know what rotation was thinking there. Could have pitted during the safety car, but he decided to pit afterwards.
Indeed, indeed. Pretty clean restart to be fair compared to the race start here. All of them staying in the 1 second window here, so they were tactically about this one. And yeah, just trying to stay within the position they are currently in. As we see Sieb now very close to the back of AJ. AJ is now in P8 in the Williams here. As Sieb is now trying to get a move pass, he's only a 10th behind, going down the inside here. In turn 1, he breaks late, and Sieb now up to P8 here. Good job there from Sieb. Can he now move up further positions to catch up to Liam now?
Williams under massive pressure once again. That's AJ defending from Nelly Safu there, changing his direction. Nelly Safu gonna go down the inside or try to return number 4, but they both make contact, and Nelly Safu got sent into a half spin, but thankfully he saves the car, or just about, because he lost it the second time, but thankfully also going at a major speed there, and he saves it. But unfortunately he's dropped a lot of positions. Unfortunately, did he just tag AJ there, just understeered into him? I'm not quite sure. Did AJ leave enough room? I was off board, unfortunately, for my point of view. But what did you see?
From my eyes, I think Nelu just was not alongside far enough into the corner here and clipped the rear of AJ here. So I think it was Nelu's mistake and should have been more patient.
Yeah, it took advantage because AJ went wide going out of turn 3, got a lovely run on him and slipstreamer for good measure. I was able to get a run into turn from before, but like you said, should have been more patient. Unfortunately, has cost himself and paid the price for it. But DRS then is now enabled, and that will spice things up between the top 3 because Walter is not able to stick with Jeroen Visser, unfortunately, like he was during the whole race before the safety car came out. So Walter there has dropped out the DRS range, and he'll become under pressure from Joshua, who's had amazing performance in this race so far. Started from P19 after making that mistake in qualifying. He's up into P5. That'd be definitely one of my drivers of the day. If he could get the podium, is for sure, but P5 is still a good result for him. Let's see what he can do then. It takes a lot of curb as well, so that might get him a warning or two, but gotta be very careful not to do that more than twice, otherwise you'll pick up a penalty. But yeah, the battle for P4 is on between those two, but can't wait to see what happens between Tony, Isak Kush and Jeroen Visser. Isak Kush in P2 has just been biding his time, waiting for the moment to come. He knows he doesn't want to battle early in the race to lose so much time and fall into the clutches of the guys behind, and that's why he's been waiting so long. Maybe he's going to pounce the penultimate lap, who knows, that's his plan all along. Tony probably knows it as well, and the Mercedes there of Ken has gone for a spin coming out of Jun Sao. Unfortunately for him, has dropped all the way down into P15. And he's been overtaken by Resify, who goes into P16 now. But is Joshua close enough to make a move on Walter there as we head onto the Retroposture straight with DRS enabled, not using any ERS, so I don't think he's going to make a move going into turn number 4 there, and he stays behind him for the time being. Red Bull versus Mercedes there, looks like he's got a much better grip compared to Walter. Maybe Walter sustained a bit of damage. He did have a little bit of an argy-bargy there with Jeroen Visser the whole race, maybe sustained a little bit of front wing damage, but we can't quite see it evidently on the screen.
That could very much be the case because he's losing quite a lot of time, because he was last lap he was about 1.4 behind and he now lost 7 tenths, and that's not really up to Wouter's standards. So there could be some slight damage here from the extensive battling with Jeroen here, so there could be some damage maybe going on, or he's really struggling on the medium tires, and this is really playing into Evans's hands as he's now in the DRS window, DRS enabled, not using the ERS here, but is he close enough to make an overtake opportunity here? He doesn't go for it this time, but will he go for it towards the run, towards turn 4?
Definitely looks like he's got much better cornering grip in comparison to Walter there. I think he's going to go for it. He uses his ERS now, and Joshua knows this is a chance. Walter go defensive on the inside. Joshua has to go around the outside. Or will Walter go late on the brakes? Yes, he will, and he stays in P4. So Joshua then remains in P5. He knows the inside line is much better unless he can get alongside him or ahead of him before turning, before around the outside. However, Jack and AJ going at it for P10 there, the Haas. Under pressure from the Williams as AJ trying to reclaim a few positions after he lost from Steve Gamer and Jack before. And he's all over the Haas, who's dropped out of the DRS range of Steve Gamer, who's putting pressure on Liam and Bompier ahead. Bompier lost out to Joshua at the safety car restart before turn number 1 then, so it looks like Bompier got caught napping in just a bit there, and Joshua was able to take advantage of him as we see rotation in the background there as the drivers on the other side of the track. Unfortunately for him, just a lonely race. Both McLarens in P17 and P18. Miserable race, and Resify has gone for a spin, unfortunately for him. Down in P16, definitely struggling around here in Interlagos. But Jeroen then is dropping outside the 1 second range of DRS. He is low on ERS, so is Isak Kush, but I think he's able just to stay in DRS range of Isak Kush there and Tony. But Jeroen there, with the lack of ERS he has in, looks like he's not able to make a move, as he'll have no straight line speed going on the straight there to try and make a move on Isak Kush or Tony. And also being the DRS trade in P3 is not helping either.
So AJ's in the battle with Troya here for P11 here. AJ was in P8 a couple laps ago, but really seems to be struggling in terms of pace. He mentioned it in qualifying.
Oh!
Sorry, with pace as there's a contact now, and AJ has to cut the corner now to rejoin behind Troya in P12 here, and now his brother is right behind him. And Carl also holding there for the battle here, so kind of all for a couple of laps there for AJ here, who's really just slipping down the field right now, unfortunately. And walking both with Wouter. Wouter's lost quite a bit of time again to Jeroen here, who's manages to stay within the top guy, or within the window of the top guys, but has literally no ERS compared to Tony 30% and Isak 33%.
Yeah, EOS has been a major struggle here for Giroud Visit, sat in P3, not able to do anything about it, can't even save it despite having DOS at the back of Isak Kush there. Just gonna hope and pray that, well, I don't know what he can do in P11 because he's stuck in the DOS tray behind Isak Kush. Isak Kush is the main one that can determine the outcome of this race because he can decide when to go for an overtake on Tony. Giroud Visit's just gonna sit there and bide his time, waiting for something to happen because being stuck in the DRS train with the guy ahead of you and DRS as well, just can't do anything about it. Unfortunately, been in that position quite a few times myself. It's just not nice knowing that you can't do anything about it unless there's those two battle. But yeah, quite a few DRS trains going on out there, especially Walter being the DRS leader of Joshua, Bonpierre, Liam and Sieb down there in P5, P6, P7 and P8. And Jack also being under pressure from Troye and Leroy right behind him too. But 10 laps to go in this race then. When is Isak Kush going to make his mind up when to overtake it? Will it be the last lap? Will it be the penultimate lap? But Tony will also be anticipating it as well. So let's see if he's got a defense plan or strategy to try and keep Isak Kush behind. But yeah, Isak Kush then sitting in P2, knowing he's a deciding factor of this race.
I think Isak Kush's best strategy is to overtake Tony on lap 35 because then Tony will use pretty much all of his ERS to defend against Isak Kush, and if Isak Kush overtakes him, then Tony will have no ERS to really go for another attack as Restify is going for another spin here down in P18 now.
Oh, Wouter!
Wouter spun. Unfortunately, the Mercedes has lost the car now. In turn 9, I think that is. Now all the way down in P14, so that promotes Joshua, Bonpierre, Liam, Sieb, pretty much everyone up another place now. Everything up to P4 here, after starting P19 here. So another difficult ride there from the reigning champion there. Now down in P15 behind his teammate here.
On the same lap, I did notice Isak Kush had a bit of a moment going into that middle sector because Giroud Vizzo was almost on the back of him as Jack has been overtaken by Troye, who moves himself up into P. The man who left the session earlier on, the man who started P3, is now clawing his way back through the field as Walter has retired from the session. Unfortunately for him, Bonpierre putting pressure on Joshua ahead of him too as they're fighting for P4 now. Bonpierre had a solid race in P5 like he did in China, and once again it looks like he's having a good race here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. He's got Liam all over the back of him too, so he could be defending and attacking as Bonpierre as they go wide once again in that middle sector, just in each other's dirty air. And looks like he was about to make a move on Bonpierre going into that right-hander, but just too far back to do so for the time being. And that battle's going to get spicy as well between those four, battling for P4. C being the back of it as well, not helping him being stuck in that DRS train. But we'll keep an eye on them as well as the top three as they head on to lap 28 out of 36. And Carl has overtaken Nathan, who moves himself up into P12. And Liam then has overtaken Bonpierre. They're going side by side, going into turn number 1. Bonpierre, will he stick it around the outside? No, he won't. He stays. He stays back in what? He goes down into P6 then, and Liam moves up into P5 ahead of Bonpierre. Now Liam then, can he make a move on Joshua going into turn number 4? I think he's way too far back for the time being to make that move. But Bonpierre then back into P6 before Walter spun. That's where he was majority of the race. Would love to reclaim that position ahead of Liam, but Liam's had a solid race too.
Indeed. Very interesting race so far. I think Nathan's struggling quite a bit. He is on the hard tires now, but seems to be struggling. Of course, Nathan has switched to no assist, so that will prove his lack of pace as he's trying to adapt to the no assist game, which is very tough. I know you can speak out of experience there, Jamie, that it's not an easy task to switch to no assist here. And I'm pretty sure half of the grid are no assist currently compared to the other half. So that's interesting to compare as Leroy picks up a 3-second penalty. So Jamie, what do you think of the experience to switch to no assist?
First of all, Liam has got past Joshua up into P4. Yeah, I can tell you about my experience, but I just want to see what Joshua does because he's got DRS now. Back on Liam, there's Bompier there. When he try to make it 3 wide, there's not enough space, and Bompier is going on the grass there to try and overtake Joshua, but that's not a good idea. We've seen that happen in the past, going on the grass there. Lawrence Stroll and Sebastian Vettel back in 2022. This 2022, and Bompier going wide because he's got dirt on his tyres, and Seeb is going to go up the inside now. They're going side by side, going into the next few corners there, but Bompier has the inside line for this corner now. Seeb trying to stick it around the outside, but can't quite do so, and Bompier stays in P6 there. Optimistic move by Bompier, not the best place to go, going on the grass there, because you'll suffer with understeer with a lot of dirt to your tyres. But yeah, to answer your question, no assist. It takes a lot of time to adapt to the getting used to, and the reason why I went back to assist, well, I say assist, just line, is because it takes a lot of time and dedication and practice to, well, at any track, to try and get used to no assist. And oh, Isak Kush there has got himself a 3-second time penalty. So much Jeroen Visser. Looks like he made a mistake in turn 2, and now Tony is in a prime position to win this race. All he's got to do is not get any penalties. He can afford to battle with Isak Kush and Giroud now, but he's got to make sure he doesn't pick up any penalties himself. Tony is the least under pressure now, but Isak Kush and Giroud has essentially nothing to lose now. They can just fight him as much as he wants, trying to force him to get a 3-second time penalty. As Vesify's going for another spin, I think. Yes, he has, on the soft compound tyres. But adapting to a no assist will take a lot of time. It's so easy to give up as well because it feels like you're just getting nowhere with it, but it just takes a lot of time. I did race with no assist for a little while, but obviously because I've got no time at all to practice or do anything in this game, that's why I got back to line. I don't even with line on, I don't have time to practice for it either, so that's why I can't go with no line, because otherwise I'd be missing my breaking points and causing chaos really. But yeah, to those people got no assist, good luck. It'll take a lot of time to getting used to, and for those people wanted to go no assist, good luck to you too. And let me know how it all turns out. But Tony, oh, what's happened here? Tony looks like he's lost it, and Isak Kush is alongside him. It looks like Tony's got a slow exit, and Isak Kush there was able to go alongside him, and he moves himself up into P1. It didn't look like Tony spun. Oh, look. What's happening to him? He's just lost a lot of time. He's just lost he just lost the car going into turn number 4, and now Giroud Visser is able to overtake him. Oh, he's just got pushed off the track. You don't want to risk yourself at 3-second time penalty. Come on, Tony. You don't want to risk it, especially going that wide as well into that corner. It's so easy to lose the car.
This is a perfect opportunity for Isak Kush to maybe pull away here, as Tony is potentially gonna go in a battle here with Jeroen Visser. I'm not really sure what's going on with Tony. We said a lot before, he might be a bit comfortable. He will be the least under pressure now. But as you can see, he's starting to make mistakes. Evans has been disconnected from the session here. He has left the session. It looks like he just had a game issue. Not the first time we've heard that, but he's losing all sorts of positions here to Liam and Bompier and Seeb now. Here's a plenty battling as Bompier now to
oh no! Oh, Joshua's AI. No, it's the he didn't pit. It's his AI that pitted. Oh.
I know his AI that really ruined it. An amazing drive there. As he's pitting for another set of mediums.
Wait, are these guys getting punches? It looks like these guys are on the verge of getting a puncher here. They're all going slow. I'm not quite sure if these tyres are coming towards the end of their life here. I think some drivers are really struggling with tyre wear around here. You can see the tyres fading. Looks like some drivers are really struggling with the rear end of their tyres. But it looks like some drivers are on the verge of getting one. I'm not quite sure.
Indeed. Very interesting end to the race here. Of course, Xavier came out lap 14 and most guys switched to the medium straight away. So they have to survive, take these tires quite a long way. So like I said, some drivers might be struggling with the rear tires here. I see Tony was really struggling with just turning in the car in general and losing quite a lot of grip here. So there may be some punctures on the way. We have to keep our eye out on that. As now Seeb is lining up Bompier here, using all of his eras he pretty much has, with Liam now going defensive here and Seeb going onto the grass. Very interesting here, as now Troye I think is catching up to this battle now. Yeah, Troye has indeed catched up. close enough to this battle and using his earbuds to try to succeed now. So this way has become a 5-way battle for P4 here.
Wow, this is very interesting there. And look at that, you can see Troye try to sneak it. Did he make contact? I think Sieb went off the track. I thought he had a puncher there for a split second, but he just went off the track himself. Because I think Troye spooked me a little bit because he tried to go up the inside into turn number 5, but didn't quite happy. You can see Sieb Royal Gamer is all over the show now with his tyres just fading away. These drivers are really struggling to make it towards the end here. They're all struggling with tyre wear with these later stages of the race. It's going to be very interesting to see who loses out the most in terms of tyre wear, tyres going off.
Very much indeed. Sieb has now lost ground to Boompje here. After a lap ago he was close to overtaking Boompje and has now lost ground here. As Nave is also disconnected. I'm not sure.
Oh no! Oh,
Isa
Kush. Wait, I thought Isa Kush left the game. He hasn't left the game. He's ghosted. He's ghosted. Oh.
Isa Kush is okay. This could be because Nathan has left. Which means the session is now glitched apparently, so keep an eye out on whoever's in the session right now.
Is he this?
Could be very much glitched.
Where is Isa Kush?
He's still in. He's still in the lead.
He's not for me. He's left. He's in P3. He's left for me.
No, he's in the lead. He's in the lead still. He's very much carrying on still. Half a second ahead of Jeroen, with Tony still on P3 without a penalty, who's 10 seconds ahead of Liam. But it looks like Tony is struggling quite a bit now, starting to lose a bit of pace here. But I don't think it will be such a huge difference, as there's only 2 laps to go after this.
Session is glitch. Apparently Isa Kush is in P3 for me. But you got to tell me when a battle happens between Jeroen and Isa Kush, because I have no idea when it will.
Well, you've got Isa Kush still in the lead now in the Senna S here, ahead of Jeroen, and Tony is in the DRS window, playing it safe and not really doing much else here. So he's just controlling the gap here. And they're all just 10 seconds of Liam here with only 2 laps to go here. It looks very good for Tony unless he gets a penalty here, with Evans now posting the pass lap with a 9.5 here. Very unfortunate here that he got disconnected from the session, because he was on for a P5 minimum, I reckon, or at least a top 6 finish here, because I don't think Troye and Sieb would have overtaken him, but that's unfortunately the state of the game currently. As we're now heading towards the final sector here, you can clearly see on stream right now, it's Jeroen still close to Isa Kush here, 6 tenths behind, but I don't think he is close enough to overtake it. All of the guys using all of their ERS here, and Liam has 40% ERS left, as Nathan has been overtaken. Of course it's his ghost car, so he's being overtaken by Evans here. But it looks like Jeroen will not try to overtake Isa Kush, because this is still a position here. This will go on for P2 here, as both drivers have 360 penalties here. But I don't think Jeroen has got the straight line speed here, and Tony will have to. Looks like he has it in the bag. And Liam has managed to defend against Boompje here. Boompje getting very close here, but just can't find a way past the Alfa Romeo driver here. So good defense there from the OP driver here. OP manager. Sieb also very close, use all of his ERS here. But we're gonna switch to the lead battle as Isa Kush has been spun out by Tony. Isa Kush has been spun out by Tony. Unfortunately, I think Isa Kush sort of desync here, made contact with Jeroen and got collided here by Tony here. And he's now in the battle with Liam here. So Liam is very close to the battle for the podium now, as he's made contact again. Isa Kush is now down to P6 with Tony winning the race ahead of Jeroen here. And it looks like Liam will pick up a P3 ahead of Boompje.
Look at this.
Actually going to be. Go on.
Boompje
ahead of Troye here with Sieb in P6, not Jack in P7 here, AJ in P8. Isa Kush retiring from the session here. Ken down in P9. 10th is Leroy. Evans still making up in P10, but should have been near the podium battle here. Rotation in P12, Nave in P13, who's been disconnected, Nilu P14, and Carl retiring in the final corner, and I S8 retiring on the final straight actually. But what a ending to the race right there. I'm not sure what really happened. Of course the mainstream had a disconnect or a desync issue. But an absolutely incredible scenes right there, and it looks like the commentary or the steward box will be certainly full of incidents after this race.
I didn't see the battle between, I didn't see the contact because I S8 Kush was elsewhere on my screen. He was fighting with Liam if for P4, but yeah, Liam, what a fantastic result for him in P3 there, and Bompio in P4 as well. And look at Sieb and Choi, they were so close. In fact, Choi just beat Sieb towards the line, and Liam there, fantastic result for him. What a fantastic race he's had. Giroud in P2 from P6, unfortunately with that 3-second time penalty, and Tony finally wins a race in CRL. He's had 2 podiums in the past, now 3, and now a race victory to his name. So what a fantastic result for him. And no penalties, kept it nice and clean. I think he did anyway, that's what I saw from my screen, because I didn't see no contact with I S8 Kush. He was battling with Liam. But yeah, what a race that was, and what a way to round off the round 2 at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Ken from P20 to P9 as well. Lots of things happened in that last lap. I didn't see majority of it on the stream because of the lag and the glitches, unfortunately. And condolences to consolation to I S8 Kush there. Unfortunately, with that desync, I'm not quite sure. Maybe Tony didn't appear on his screen. That's why they probably made contact, even though he was there. But these things happen in this game, unfortunately, but still bugs and glitches. You can't get rid of them, can you?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just the way it is, the current state of the game. But I do still think Tony massively deserved this win here, and certainly my driver of the day, because he put it on pole, was controlling the pace with I S8 Kush, and despite all the pressure from him behind, he's managed to keep it clean, which is not usual Tony style, but he did do it today. So massive congrats to him, and my driver of the day.
If I'm correct, without even looking at the championship standings, Tony, I think, leads the championship now. I think he does. So Tony is, I think, our new championship leader.
P1, so indeed, championship leader Tony, very much deserved from how he's driving at the moment.
I'll be brutally honest. I wouldn't have said anything like that last season. Tony leading the championship whatsoever. No disrespect, but he did have a lot of incidents and mistakes. He did retire early doors in races as well, but he's turned that around now. It looks like he's changed and transformed for the better, and this is the Tony we want to see. Can he keep it up for the majority of the season? But that's round 2 done for the Brazilian Grand Prix. I really hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time at round 3 for 8:30. Thank you, Stevan, for tuning in with me.
Likewise, Jamie. It was a very good race to commentate today, and I certainly enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll have the same but clean race next time out. Hopefully.
Can Orvelan come back stronger next race? He did retire. I think he span out himself on the curb at a Junsao. We didn't see him fully. He was in P3 at the time being, and unfortunately just dropped it on the curb and hit the wall and lost his wheel. Other drivers as well who had their misfortunes in the race, like Walter as well, who spun coming out the slow speed corners. Can he come back stronger as well? The 2-time champ of CRL, and it's not hasn't transformed into this season, unfortunately. He hasn't got his season underway really after a dismal race in China too. So let's see if anything can change in this season. But that's it for us now. We'll see you all next Thursday. This night has gone very quick, as it always does.
Indeed. Hopefully you will see a good race again next time, and have a good evening everyone, and we'll speak to you guys later.